Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
We said that same-sex marriage would ultimately lead to polygamy, and that's in fact where it's headed. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action and also associate dean of the law school at Liberty University. Matt, early on, years ago, we said that same-sex marriage would ultimately lead to polygamy. And in fact, if two people of the same sex can marry, which is a dichotomy in and of itself, it's an oxymoron, then someone of multiple different kinds of relationships, different kinds of genders, it's several people, several men, several women could combine together and have not only polygamy, but polyamory. So if a man can have one wife, he could have two wives or three wives or vice versa. Or you could have a mixture of all kinds of polyamorous relationships where you have several men and several women all coming together. Some people would say, oh, that's crazy. That's not going to open up this door. Well, that's what's happening right now in Utah with this new threat to marriage.
Well, you hate to be proven right, but we have said it all along. Once you break the institution of marriage, as it has for thousands of years been recognized, and say somehow that a man can marry a man or a woman can marry a woman, once you radically redefine marriage, it opens the floodgates. What possible justification is there to say now that you can't have polygamous marriages? Can you make a moral argument? Well, no, we've done away with that. Can you as long as the only criterion is consenting adults, then what possible justification? So the polygamous movement is now taking the homosexual activist playbook and playing right out of that playbook the reality show Sister Wives. Cody Brown, who is the man involved in that, has 4 wives and 16 children and stepchildren on the really seedy reality TV show Sister Wives. They're filing an official lawsuit making the same 14th Amendment arguments, the same arguments we've heard coming from homosexual activists. Again, we told you so. And Matt, I'm kind of taken aback by this. Just for Matt, I can barely handle my own Sicilian wife from Chicago. I can't imagine, having 4 wives like this. But hey, but this is very serious. And the reality of it is, though, Matt, that there is a stronger case to be made. And I'm not defending polygamy or saying that polygamy is good, but there's actually a stronger historical and biblical case to be made for polygamy than there is for same-sex marriage. They're both wrong, but the reality is that homosexual same-sex marriage has opened the floodgates to this kind of nonsense.
Well, it certainly does. If you walk away from the paradigm of one man, one woman, and you create 2 men and 2 women because of their personal bond toward one another, then there is no way to stop logically from expanding that to polygamy or polyamory. Early on in America, we recognized that family and the marriage union of one man and one woman was critical to America's survival into liberty. Whenever we expanded west, for example, a couple of things that we did was we actually exported our evangelism so that the people, as we were moving into new territories, would not undermine the liberty gained by the original 13 colonies. The religion and morality pillars that George Washington talked about were necessary for the government to survive. That's why evangelism was very important as we expanded west. That's what Alexis de Tocqueville talks about. What also is important is the family unit. As we expanded west, we found, for example, Utah with the Mormons at the time promoting things such as polygamy. And the early American legislators and people realized that to accept that was also going to destroy the republic. And so for Utah to become part of the state, they had to abolish polygamy. And also several other states, about 5 states particularly, had to abolish polygamy. Some of those states, the legislation that was passed in order to allow these territories to become states required that they accept marriage as one man and one woman and not polygamy. They had to, some of those, put it into their laws, and those states could not even change those laws without the consent of the other states. So they couldn't back off that, come into the union, back away from it, decide, well, they're going to go back to polygamy. America had a national policy early on that marriage was between one man and one woman, and the reason for that was for the stability of the country. If we didn't have strong families, as de Tocqueville recognized the difference between America and England and Europe was in America we had strong families. In Europe, they didn't have strong families. And that was reflected in the policies and the government. If we ultimately lose that strong family unit, then we ultimately lose the governmental structure and the civic body politic. Well,
the lawsuit is hanging its hat on, and it's interesting that the sodomy case, Lawrence v. Texas, that's where they're hanging their hat there. The polygamists are utilizing victories by the homosexual activist lobby to make their case. Justice Anton Scalia said that would happen. He predicted that would happen. Here it is, and law professor Jonathan Turley is the lead attorney on the case out of George Washington University. He's very high profile, so this is a high profile case.
Well, and he's going to have to stop promoting his so-called conservative credentials. That really reveals where Jonathan Turley is with regards to his understanding or lack thereof of the Constitution. And this is what happens in law schools, where law schools don't even teach the rule of law, except at Liberty University, where we do teach the rule of law in the Western legal tradition. When the Constitution becomes malleable and is able to be used any way you want to, when 2 + 2 can equal 5 or 6, depending upon the circumstances or the person who's in control, which is what law is, then law has no meaning anymore. This is a real threat to America. In my book, Same-Sex Marriage, Putting Every Household at Risk, I talk about the threat of same-sex marriage not only on those involved in it, but on the children and on the infrastructure of our society, on our communities. It does affect every single individual. For example, you have same-sex marriage opening up polygamy and polyamory. You also have it literally being used as a club to silence individuals and to disenfranchise them from work if they disagree. In New York, that passed same-sex marriage through the legislature. One of the town clerks who would be in charge of giving out marriage licenses has had to resign, saying that she would not compromise her moral conscience by participating in licensing same-sex couples. She said that she had to choose between her job and God, and she also said that she believes that there is a higher law than the law of the land. It is the law of God and the Bible, and she quotes Acts 5:29 to say we must obey God rather than men. This is clearly a threat that's coming to America, and we should not be fooled into the fact that this is tolerance, just allow two people to be together, give them the rights and benefits, and everyone goes on happily ever after.
Well, Matt, Governor, the Cuomo administration has put out a dictate saying that there is no freedom of conscience when it comes to same-sex marriage in New York. And, Heidi Feldblum, who is President Obama's recess appointment to the EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, she has said that when religious liberties are enumerated First Amendment rights come into conflict with newfangled rights, quote, gays win, Christians lose. We see that being the case with the homosexual activist marriage debate. We also see that being, the case now. And Matt, let me ask you this quickly. What's to stop incestuous marriages now?
Nothing. Once you go crossing the line of marriage between a man and a woman, then there's no boundaries anymore. And that's really what the goal of the homosexual agenda is literally to abolish the institution of marriage. They don't want marriage for marriage's sake. They want it for affirmation. They want it to be used as a bully club to be able to force people to accept their view. They don't want it for marriage's sake. They want to literally change and abolish the institution itself. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel at 1-800-671-1776. We'll be getting involved in these and other cases, but we can't do that without your prayers and your support. You can go to your cell phone right now and text a contribution to Liberty Counsel of $10. You text at 20222. That's 20222, and in the subject line put down LC. Again, that number is 20222. 222-20222. Text that right now and put in the subject line LC, and that will be a contribution to Liberty Counsel for $10 to help support this ministry. All that we do pro bono, free of charge, and we couldn't show up without you. And if we don't show up, we won't win. But if we do show up, we more than oftentimes win. Our success ratio is phenomenal, but it's only if and when we do show up. And you can help us be there to defend life, liberty, and family. You can also ask for this bumper sticker, the Don't Tread on Me bumper sticker. Go to lc.org today.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.